Hey kindred spirits! Welcome back to the light side of the paranormal. Or if you're new, hi, my name's Alice, and I usually have my co-host Jenna with me, but we sometimes film videos separately, and this is one of those times. We make videos regarding the paranormal and spiritual topics, so if you like that stuff, you're gonna want to keep watching. Today I'm coming at you guys, as you can see from the title, with a paranormal story time. Now, these stories were happening a year ago? A little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. If you are not new to our channel, you probably saw we did a series regarding a haunted apartment that I recently lived in. And if you haven't seen that, we will link that in the description. But this particular set of stories that I'm about to share are from the place that I actually lived in just before that apartment. So 2 haunted places in a row. I'm very fortunate that this place is not, that I now bought this space. So thank goodness for that. But now I have some good stories for you. If you hear rustling around in the background, my cat and my dog are chasing each other around in a playful way. So that's what that is. You be good. So I'm calling this set of hauntings the McPhail Street Hauntings because, if you can guess, that is where the haunted house was, on that street. So the first ghost that I encountered in that house, I referred to as Lady Upstairs because she was always upstairs and never was found in the basement. Lady Upstairs appeared after Greg, the gentleman I was talking about in my spooky get ready with me video, gifted us his mother's Christmas angel that she would put on top of her tree. And it was very, very special to her. She passed it down to him, and then after he was getting sick, he passed it down to us. So it's really, really special. But I found it very interesting that this woman were to show up just after we got this angel. It kind of made me question if possibly this was his mother in some form. It was really hard to tell as she never spoke. She was very pale and had dark hair. She was always standing very regal, actually, I'm having an epiphany right now with you. If you watched my spooky get ready with me video, link in the description, I have been seeing this woman in my basement who looks an awful lot like Lady Upstairs. Okay, so there's that. But she was in a red Victorian looking gown, standing very her hands were in front of her like this, crossed in front of her, and just standing and staring. She never said anything. She never really moved. She was always if we were sitting on the couch watching television, we have this coffee table sort of in front of the couch. She would just stand just off beside the TV on the other side of the coffee table. And my husband, who doesn't see dead people, thought I was absolutely crazy because we'd be sitting there and I'd be like, she's right there, right in front of you. She's right, how do you not, what? So anyways, so that was Lady Upstairs. I never got a bad feeling from her, but her staring intensely all the time kind of made me uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean that she's negative. I feel like if a live human being, whether you knew them or not, was just intensely staring at you for hours, it would probably make you uncomfortable. Next was one that I feel made me uncomfortable in the way that I felt like there was negative intent. I felt like this entity got off on scaring me and scaring people because I called it just the long face in the closet, because that's exactly what it was. Anytime, we lived in a really old house. This was actually, the McPhail Street house was the house that my husband grew up in, and then eventually his parents moved out and let him move into that place, and then I moved in with him, blah, blah, blah. But it was an old house, and the closets weren't like modern day closets with sliding doors or doors that open like this. It was just a broom closet with a normal little door with a door handle, and that's it, you know? So all of the closets were like that, and any time that a closet was left ajar, just open just slightly, I would see this very long, pale face, like long, like stretched, like abnormally long, not long like me, like a long face. Sort of creepypasta looking, which makes it sound way less credible, and I'm sorry, but that's the best way that I could describe it. And he would just like that, just picture this like big smile from ear to ear, long face, and just eyes forward, chin down, big ol' smile, white face, large teeth, dark eyes, standing, staring, smiling. I eventually got into the habit of just keeping the doors closed at all times because I didn't want to see it. I don't know if this entity was still in the closet when the door was closed and we just saw it when the door was ajar. I'm not sure, but that's kind of how I coped with that guy. This house was the first set of experiences where I had many shadow figures surrounding my bed when I was trying to go to sleep. This carried forward into the haunted apartment that I lived in after that, and I don't know if those two groups are the same group or if they're connected in any sort of way, but this was my first experience with that. So many times in this house, I would go to bed. I was always fearful to go in my bedroom, which is uncomfortable because that's supposed to be your safe haven, your sanctuary, and I didn't feel that. The room was the coldest room in the house always, and it just had bad vibes. Very often there would be these shadow figures that were all, it was almost like carbon copies. Like they weren't varying in heights, varying in weight, size in any sort of way. They were just the same figure over and over and over. I'm assuming male, but it was really hard to tell. It was simply a shadow. Not a lot of defining features there, just completely surrounding my bed. It felt very ritualistic, which made me uncomfortable. I also felt like maybe I was being studied in some sort of way, which also was weird. And it was hard to sleep, you know? Eventually I would just get so exhausted that I would just pass out, but I would be staring at them for what felt like an eternity before I could finally fall asleep. This one is one of my personal favorites because I have other people that can back it up that have also seen it. Anytime that I can get that validation, it is so comforting and amazing. So as I had mentioned earlier in this video, this was the house that my husband had grown up in. So his stepdad, his mom, and his brother lived with him full time there. There was many nights where I would be sitting on the couch. Now the way that the house is laid out is like if you're sitting on the couch, there's an open doorway leading into the kitchen, and then it's open with stairs leading down into the basement off the kitchen. So you can see into the kitchen and into the stairway when you're just sitting on the couch in the living room. I would be sitting there, and every time out of the corner of my eye, it was never when I was looking directly at it, of course, but every time out of the corner of my eye, I would see a man just kind of like poke around the corner real quick. Just like, hey, just checking in. And then you'd look and he wouldn't be there. And then you'd look away and start watching the TV again, and he'd be like, oh hey, I'm just studying you. Oh, okay. So that was kind of funny. I felt like he was sort of shy. He didn't want to be seen necessarily. I felt like there was a lot of curiosity there. It was hard to say for sure. But my husband's stepdad and his brother have confirmed that when they were living in that house, they saw that same thing. And this wasn't something that I prompted them with. I wasn't like going up to them like, hey, did you guys see the guy that pokes around the corner of the stairwell of the basement? Like, because I did, and you should probably agree with me. It wasn't like that. I was like, hey, so now that I've been living in your house for a while, just wondering if you can remember anything weird that you may have experienced or seen while you were living there. And they both looked at each other and went, the man that pokes his head around the corner from the basement stairwell. It was like a normal topic of conversation in their household. My husband is a skeptic, so he didn't really tell me about it until I found out for myself, but I found out, and it was very validating.